Welcome back to Tu-Vie, your TV movie entertainment needs podcast, and today we are met with the creators of ZombieCon, the hidden gem of 2025. In my opinion, I think this movie is great, and I think everybody should go get a chance to see it. It's on Prime Video. You can also get the physical media copy, which we all recommend here. So it's with us today. We are sitting with Erin Áine and Kyle Valle. You guys doing great? How's everything going?
Doing fantastic.
Wonderful.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for having us.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you for having us and our daughter
Yes,
Anya
of
is
course.
joining us.
Yeah, I think it's the first baby on the podcast, so it's obviously a milestone. We have the first horror directors, horror creators, and the first infant on the podcast, which is always
Perfect.
interesting combination for one episode, which I think is it's a great way to kick this thing off. But obviously, ZombieCon Vol.1 has been kicking up with incredible traction this last couple months, especially during the horror months. It's been such a joy to see that because this movie is a lot of fun. It's truly, I think Erin has something to say about the show. I think Erin.
Yeah,
Good.
she wants the mic. She likes being the star. She
Yeah.
doesn't like that ZombieCon right now is the star, but we can share the spotlight
It's
together.
very second child syndrome where it's like the first child that wants all the attention on that. Yeah, I
And
totally get
ZombieCon
that.
absolutely is our first child.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And with that, you guys kind of spoke a lot about the creation of this thing. So asking it again is going to kind of be a bore. I do want to ask you guys kind of the kickoff question. What was the heart you didn't want to sacrifice? And I know, sorry if my internet connection's kicking off, and hopefully the audio is kicking clear, so I can always repeat the question. But you guys really like had this be a long, multi-year process. What was something that in the creation of this you couldn't sacrifice, no matter what was being told in the the takes, the true heart of it that had to be kept? Because I think it's very evident, but I'm curious to see what you guys think.
Well, I would go from a story perspective,
Mhm.
I was, having written it and Aaron obviously helped write it and Manny Luke, who plays Rocket, helped write it.
Mhm.
The characters and the friendship dynamic and the group dynamic and obviously the overarching kind of thematic quality of the film that ends, which doesn't really work with the ending if you lose.
Mhm.
I'm trying not to give too much away,
Yeah,
but
we can
if
make this
you
a spoiler filled if needed, if it'll make it easier.
yeah, now either way,
Yeah.
I mean, basically the heart and the core group of four characters and
Mhm.
wanting to show as much or preserve as much of that just kind of regular dynamic as
Mhm.
humanly possible.
Mhm.
I know that Aaron kept trying to reel me in on the in the editing room and cut down the amount of time we had the characters
That was
talking
vicious.
and I was kind of coming at it from the point of view that, like, yeah, I know it's a zombie action film, but I also, it's kind of like a very Clerks-ish film
Mhm. Oh,
where we're
very.
diving, into this world of, kind of geeks and,
Yeah.
built for the new age with people who just love anime and stuff that I grew up with as a kid that I never saw represented, in any other movie or TV show. It's like
Mhm.
you've got all these shows and they talk, sometimes about DC or Marvel, but
Yeah.
anime is a huge, huge fan base. And it's
Yeah.
like, I never hear people just like casually being like, oh, yeah, you're going Super Saiyan. Or you're talking about, Chainsaw Man or this or that.
Yeah.
And so that was a huge thing for me to make sure we kept in the film and never lost through the
Absolutely.
process. And then another kind of more generic one is just overall quality.
Sure.
Not ever, finishing the film like just because we could finish it
Mhm.
if it wasn't right.
Sure.
And there were a lot of times where we had, working copy showings or we showed it at LA Comic Con or Anime Expo, where I
Oh.
was literally working on the film up until like an hour before the showing. And they would all be at the, room kind of getting everyone seated. And I would kind of ride in 5 minutes before the show's supposed to start
Wow.
with the hard drive and be like, I've got it.
Some of the most stressful times ever, like, is LA traffic? Is
Oh
this going to be
gosh.
the time where it's even worse than normal? Is Kyle going to make it? Is he going to make it late? Will we
Yeah.
need to stall? What will we talk about? The show must go on, and it did. And thankfully, yeah,
Yeah. LA
it
traffic's
was
the
hard for us to make
worst.
it.
I can't imagine that kind of beast in such a dire need.
We literally had at the last one at LA Comic Con, we had a countdown clock at our booth. And I think that it was doing more like to stress me out than
Mhm.
any excitement for anyone else because I just
Sure.
kept looking at it as I'm like texting Kyle and I see the hours, the minutes, like the seconds ticking down. But you answered that really well. honestly am struggling thinking about it other than yeah, I had a lot of edits that I wanted to make, just trying to make sure that we got it closer to 90 minutes just because distribution,
Mm,
we kept coming up with sales agents and distributors that were recommending that we get it closer to that mark, and
hmm.
they all were saying you have to get into the first zombie kill within the first, what was it, 20 minutes?
They wanted to see a zombie
Maybe
within the
Really?
50.
first, 20. And that's not how the movie was
Right.
designed.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was trying to also talk about cosplay and introduce
Hmm.
that world, and that was as important to me as the zombies, because
Hmm.
generally speaking, I think everyone knows what a zombie is,
Hmm.
like, for the most part.
Yeah.
But not everyone knows what cosplay is, and it being such an integral part of the character's world and lives and how they overcome the problem, I thought it was important to give that time to breathe at the beginning of the film. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
that you're, and I think that's what speaks very heavily as the viewer. And again, thank you guys for sending the us a copy of the viewing. But it's very, very prevalent that like you wanted to showcase why the characters are these characters, not just because it's like another zombie apocalypse or like you said, everybody knows a zombie. I do think that was really important, and I thought that was an aspect I really did enjoy was that it wasn't like racing to get to the first kill, like you said, within the first 20 minutes as the normal standard is. I do think kind of flipping that on its head was a very it's a very unique idea that I don't think is seen a lot. Even the concept of this movie where it's not an outbreak, it's not anything of like a, thing from a like a planet. It's just someone wishing all the assholes in the world were zombie. It's so good. And I gotta ask you, Aaron, as the person that made the wish, that the way you wished it was said with like packed rage. Was that something your character had to tap into? Because there were a lot of moments in this film, especially the moment in the film where it is possibly the most amount of gore I've seen in such a compact amount of time. What was that place as the actor? Because I know you were also involved in the creation side of it, but as an actor and working with everybody, including the great Punky Johnson, what was that all about?
Oh my God. I guess I know. I wanted to make sure because I knew, like, of course, we were making this film as grounded in reality
Yeah.
and real emotions as we could,
Mm-hmm.
while, of course, having over the top crazy things like this
Yes.
wish that all the assholes in the world turn into zombies from a magic rock happening to come true. And so I, as an
So
actor, was
good.
like, and producer,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I need to make sure that no matter what, I'm prepared for this scene to have the bottled up rage and emotion
Mm-hmm.
that needs to be there to really ground this. And
Mm-hmm.
so I guess I was like a little bit stressed out about it, but
Sure.
I channeled that stress into the
Good.
prep and that helped kind of with the character.
Yeah.
And nothing was more fun for me as an actor in this shoot than the Devon scene where I know that there's a zombie apocalypse happening. I'm pretty sure. And I
Yeah.
know that they don't know,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the following scene, where we're having the conversation about what just went down,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to convince them that I'm not crazy. And that I thought the writing,
It was
not
really
that
well
I'm
done.
complimenting myself here because this is really Kyle, the writing of that already is just genius.
It's so
And
funny.
as an actor, like that's the
Yeah.
best opportunity. Like I
Yeah.
am in on it and no one else is, and I
Yes.
have to convince them. So
Yes.
to answer your question, yes, I needed all the bottled up rage that I possibly could. I stored it up, I unleashed it,
Yes.
and being on set that day in the costume, in the wardrobe,
Mm-hmm.
Joseph DeBresco, our SFX hair and makeup artist,
Mm-hmm.
teasing my hair out like I had a lion's mane when that rock blew up. I had no idea how big he was going to make it until he did. And everything coming into place really helped ground it. So my preparation was there, but it was the other actors, it was the
Yeah.
stress, it was the adrenaline that really brought it.
And you guys spoke a lot about collaboration in the making of this film, both creatively and acting on that. What was the main like approach to the collaboration? Like, did you want something that was a little more actor driven, or was it kind of more like the script is already perfect and solid enough? Do we want to kind of keep it in this sense? Because I know there's a lot of back and forth, like translations with the different writing, but was everything kind of like Kyle, when you were creating this, was the movie already kind of made in your head? Were you going Scorsese, where you just had to put it down and make it?
yeah, basically, because especially with the characters, these were all friends of mine.
Mm.
I Punky Johnson was actually my first roommate
Really?
in LA. Yeah.
Wow.
And Christian Casillas, both Punky and I met literally, we met at an acting class, and
Mhm.
we met Christian at that same acting class like a month later.
Cool.
So we'd like cut our teeth,
Mhm.
in Hollywood
Mhm.
together. And I met Aaron there shortly after. So, and then Manny, of course, follows. Right after that, he becomes a partner in the production company. So we had been working on short films, on web series, and I as a writer had already written for each one of the actors in different, kind of smaller projects.
Hmm.
And I kind of had a favorite style for each of them, and I
Mm.
understood their voice very well, I think. I
Mm.
don't know if they would agree, but I thought I did.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
so I was just trying to, yeah, basically capture what I'm seeing in my head. And once we got on set, the script was very important to stick to just for
Hmm.
timing,
Sure.
because all the actors here are pretty brilliant, and they could have ad-libbed for days. And there are a couple scenes that are a little bit ad-libbed, like the flashback that we have after the Devon scene,
Hmm.
where we're kind of in that round circle,
Yes.
going, and they're like, "You just did this," and then we cut back to that.
Hmm.
That whole sequence and that cutback, that is all ad-lib between the four of them.
Mm.
Which I let it carry on for like 5 minutes. So I've got like 5 minutes of them just like panicking and going through that event. Uh, and then of course in like the high octane scenes, like when
Hmm.
we've got zombies all over the place,
Hmm.
you know, there's a little bit of ad libbing that's going on with like, get off me, because it's when you're writing a script, you don't
Yeah.
know how long you're going to have,
Hmm.
especially with a low budget. How long are we going to have, convincing action scenes for? Like, how long will
Hmm.
Erin be pinned to the couch by this other zombie? And,
Sure.
how much footage can we get? Uh, and I think there was one scene that we created because we found a location within a location, which is at the top of the tunnel scene.
Hmm.
Well, we don't have any dialogue in that, but at the top of the tunnel scene, when they first get through the door,
Hmm.
that was like a black room that we found within the tunnel location,
Yeah.
and we were waiting for the lighting to be set by because we only had a crew of like 5 people, I think, at the best of times, and
Mm.
sometimes it was only a crew of like one, just myself.
Wow.
Sometimes it was maybe two, like me and my friend Chad Tolson, who operated the boom pole. That day
Wow.
we did have a full crew, so 5 people, and two of them were furiously relighting that hallway scene that the characters run through.
Sure.
And as we were kind of waiting to get that, I was like, all right, let's jump in this black room. Let's light it with just your cell phone lights and flashlights. And, they're like, well, what do we say? I'm like, just talk about the map. The characters, like,
Yeah.
just, you're going nuts. You just got through the city. You're chased by zombies.
Hmm.
You guys are all actors. Act.
Just kind of giving that free range to just like react. Like you said, it's very low budget, but I thought what you guys had for the low budget was very well done. How much of the I wouldn't say pressure of the low budget that you felt, because I'm sure that with kind of being put in a box allows you to be so creative. But what was I guess just more about like the fun restricted part of it, of being in this low budget, because I do think everybody dreams of the high budget films, which is always great, but in this low budget, I think you also do get a lot of great creativity, because in low budget, like I said, you're put in a box, so you really got to show your metal. What was the fun about that? In other words,
So for us at the time, like, it may seem ridiculous now. That was by far the biggest budget I had ever worked with
no,
in my
yeah,
life. I know Erin has worked on, she was a child actor, so she's worked on like real, high-end movies and stuff and big TV shows.
mm,
But for me, I'm a self-taught filmmaker, so I
that's
was
awesome.
used to shooting with like a Canon, 70D on
Mm,
all of our stuff, and
sweet,
this was a $60,000 budget, so my eyes were like, "Oh my God!" Like,
yeah, yeah,
this is,
yeah,
might have well, it could have been $1 million. Now,
yeah,
of course, the fun part was needing to make use of the spaces
yeah.
as
Hmm.
creatively as possible. And I don't know
Hmm.
if I would have called it fun at the time,
Mm,
but in retrospect, needing basically the creativity that is born out of necessity
mm,
is sometimes more fun because you're playing with things a little
yeah.
bit more freely. And it's not like, okay, we've spent, $50,000 or $100,000 on this location.
Mm,
Everyone's got to be in their trailer. I don't even know what that would be like. I've never worked on a budget that big, but being able to be on set and be so integral to the entire set, like
hmm.
hands-on filmmaking.
Hmm.
I've got the camera in my hands. I'm helping set lighting. I'm
Hmm.
directing where the actors are going, directing the movements, blocking the scene. In some cases when we didn't have Joe, I actually had to apply Manny's black eye with
Mm,
makeup ahead of time. So being able to kind of be a part of the entire process, I would say that's probably the most fun
mm.
because it's really like the movie was meant to be my version of an anime.
Yeah.
So if I could draw, really well, and I could draw okay. Like the anime in the film is that's me making that, but
Oh, cool.
I want to put that like on like the scale of the anime that I watch. Like
Yeah.
it's just like supposed to be just passable.
Mm.
But this was kind of me drawing an anime with a camera,
Mm.
if you will. So the
Yeah.
more involved I could be, the better I felt and the more fun I had. And that was definitely a, you know, kind of something that came out of the lower budget. We were not physically able to hire people
Mm.
to do a lot of these things.
Yeah.
If we could have, we probably would have, to be honest, because it's
Sure.
a tremendous amount of physical labor where you're just exhausted at the end of every day.
Yeah.
But
I
I
can't
would say
imagine.
how close you get with everyone on set because
Yeah.
it's so small. You
Mm.
get so, I mean, it already on bigger sets, you end up getting pretty tight knit with
Mm.
the people that you're around the most,
Mm.
and whether it's cast or crew or kind of a mix. But
Mm.
this was such a tiny crew, and then not that big of a cast, especially. It was mostly the four Rockets, Mama
Mm.
Bear, Xander Rules here and there. But in terms of the regulars, we were already close, and we just got so much closer during the
Mm.
filming of this. And it really felt, especially by the end of it, like we had gone through a war together
Sure.
and had, emerged bruised and bloody and maybe a little bit of, not PTSD, not comparing it to war, but, an actor's
A fun trauma
version,
bond.
a
Yeah.
fun trauma bond.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
I'll actually tell a story about it. I don't think we've told this story at all,
Love it.
ever. So at the end of one particularly grueling day in the apartment,
Mhm.
we wrapped and it was a little bit early of a wrap. I think I was like, okay, I'm not feeling the energy right now. Everyone was dead. We'll come back. Why don't you guys grab some drinks, grab some pizza. We'll hit this on one of our off days because we had a few like kind of off days that were, makeup safety days.
Mm.
And I just go downstairs and I'm like, I gotta pass out. Like I'm super tired. So everyone else is upstairs drinking,
Oh my God.
eating. They're carrying on. It doesn't bother me that much. I'm like falling asleep, and then I start hearing a pounding upstairs, and a guitar starts playing, and I'm like, and then just rompous singing from everyone on the crew and cast. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And their feet are pounding on the floor as like their bass drum and everything else. Like go upstairs. They're having a full on dance party. And I think Phil Cruz, our assistant director, but he was basically the guy who was pulling the focus and in
Mhm.
charge of hitting record on the the Atmos monitor so we
Mm.
get 4K raw. He's up there, he's jamming out with the guitar, and they are all singing and having a boisterous time.
It was three of the Rockets. Manny wasn't there. He had to go home.
Oh.
It was right. Our sound guy, Chad Tolson.
Mm.
It was our makeup guy, Joseph DeBresco. It was Phil Cruz who did the pulling focus. And we were singing at that moment that Kyle walked up, Rolling in the Deep, our own rendition, very drunkenly. And
Oh,
I
perfect.
was in charge, self-nominated of, I guess, the percussion, because I was the one that he heard hammering with my foot, stomping to the rhythm.
Hell yeah.
JJ was like rapping verses that she was making up on the spot. It was amazing. And then all of a
Perfect.
sudden, I'm the last one still singing, stomping. Everyone else has stopped. I'm the last one to cotton on, and I turn. And we just see, like, in the darkness, framed by the light, our exhausted director staring at us like, what the hell?
It's very like reminiscent like getting caught by the principal and
It was.
like
It
Animal
was.
House. Wow.
Like we're obviously we at the time even were engaged, but in that moment I was just an actor letting off steam. I
Heck
was part
yeah.
of the cast, and I turned and I see the director. I was like, oh.
Yeah, in retrospect, and I had thought about it climbing the stairs. I was like, I have two ways of handling this. Go the James Cameron route and be, angry,
Nailing phones to walls.
or go like I feel like, and I don't know that Edgar Wright would do this, but in my mind, it's like go the
Yeah.
Edgar Wright route and wait for everyone to stop and then sing, sing
Heck
a
yeah.
line of the. And I unfortunately I went the James Cameron route, which I regret every like as soon as I left, I was like, oh, that was the wrong way to handle it. It would have made such a better story if I
Mm.
just busted out singing. But anyway, that was kind of the energy of
Mm.
set.
Believe it or
Yeah.
not, we were trying to be cognizant of our neighbors, and we didn't want anyone like complaining or calling the cops on us or anything like
Yeah.
that. So us, making such a ruckus at midnight in the middle of this, We
Yeah.
had permits, obviously,
Mm.
but we were filming and making a lot of noise for a month in that apartment. So probably not the best move on all our part, but like we were saying, when you gotta let off steam,
Yeah, you gotta
you
let it
gotta
out.
let off steam.
Rolling in the deep for sure. That's also just a perfect song for when you're making a film all together. That's a good go-to for a group
I'll have to
karaoke.
find the clip because it's on Instagram from like 9 years ago, and you will see. You
That'd
will
be
see. It is
perfect.
madness.
Awesome. That'd be great. And kind of incorporating the kind of like the perspective of you being either the camera or the Edgar as a director and as an actor, were there visual inspirations and then acting inspirations you wanted to bring to this movie?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of a cinephile, so I've always wanted to be a director, but I never thought I could actually, I grew up
Mm,
in New Jersey.
mm,
There's not really especially back in the 90s, there was no internet really.
mm.
There was no like way to become a filmmaker. I thought you had to be in Hollywood, you had to
Sure.
know someone and like that type of thing. So I just kind of drew from all of my favorite movies. I guess whenever I'm making anything, I have like kind of a Rolodex of
Mm,
looks in my head. And I couldn't tell you exactly what was where and what lighting was there or why this was chosen there. It just felt right.
mm,
And it was kind of like all those things combining in my head and then kind of being spit out in my version or interpretation. I can say that I feel like the red lighting in the tunnels was heavily influenced by Aliens,
mm.
because it's just one of my favorite scenes where Hudson gets taken down under the
Yeah.
floorboards, and they've got the aliens emerging from the ceiling. They're
Perfect shot.
crawling through that tunnel then with
Exactly.
Vasquez, and the lieutenant. So I feel like I always felt like that's where that came from, and I didn't really pin that down until like a year after we finished filming. But I was then like, yeah, I think that's why I chose that red because I couldn't
Mm,
really figure it. I was thinking about this stuff,
mm.
but
A
then
good movie to
like,
go for. It's a great one to go for. It's like
thank you.
the movie of movies. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, Aliens is like to me, it's basically a perfect film. So
Thank you. It's good to hear that someone else is on that team. It's good to know.
oh yeah, it's.
So
I
good.
mean, it is. We could do a whole podcast just on the perfection of Aliens.
Yeah. It's
But
so good.
I definitely think Shaun of the Dead had a lot of influence, which we didn't really think about at the time.
Mm,
But obviously, looking back on it, especially even the story beats where we have like, the mom is on the other side of the city, we're going to
mm,
save the loved one, even though Shaun of the Dead's obviously very different,
mm,
but it's got the comedic beats,
mm-hmm.
it's got the seriousness. So I think there was a lot of that bled into it. Um, and then obviously there were a lot of anime
Mm.
references that bled
Yes.
into it. So especially with the copious amounts of blood spray, that was really like an anime inspired choice where it was like, let's try to make, an anime look live action without like remaking an anime. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where that came from.
I liked that touch because in anime, it seems like there's so much more blood than whatever could be in a singular being. And I thought that was very well represented, especially in the apartment scene when the pizza guy bursts in. And I'll tell you, I mean, it was a ocean of blood. And Erin, as an actress, what was the inspiration that you took with your character? Like, what was something that not just from beginning to end, but it was like, I understand the story. What, like, not to say like there's a giant inspiration. This character is very original. I want to make that very clear. Everything in this movie is great. I'm just curious, in your mindset as the actress, what was something that you took in the approach in entering this kind of film?
Oh, it's funny because in hindsight, I look at especially that scene and I'm like, that's my Uma Thurman moment. Like that is
Very.
the drenched in blood with the katana
Yes.
going to just like go for it, be violent, like get her revenge, what have you. But going into it, I just, like I said earlier, I really wanted to make sure that I was grounding
Mm,
Claire as much as I could because I knew that a lot of the stuff could be ridiculous and over the top and campy. And it's okay if it is,
hmm.
it is. But
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure for that to work that the emotions and everything was really there and the gravitas and the seriousness
Mm,
underneath it all, the stakes were there too. So I don't know if I had like a serious inspiration, but I, as the character, tried to think about my favorite anime characters too. And like I will tell you, when I was going back, we haven't talked about this either. When I was going back as Claire towards the wall,
mm,
in the moment in the scene, I glanced at the side and I saw a Naruto poster and it's got like all the Naruto characters.
mm.
And I actually saw frickin' Sakura. And I was like, you know what? Respect. It is time for you to get some respect. I'm just like that Sakura. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna prove my worth. I'm gonna protect everyone. I'm
Hell
gonna
yeah.
be badass here. I can do this.
Hell
And
yeah.
so I gotta give Sakura some props for that as well.
I mean, I haven't gotten that far in Naruto. I've been getting there, but it sounds like this character probably needs a little more. If that's
She
I
she
mean,
deserves she gets a lot of hate. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that she doesn't like deserve some of it,
mm,
but like she gets so
yeah,
much unnecessary hate.
mm,
And I, as Claire in that moment, that's what I was feeling and I went with it.
terrific. And you guys have spoken a lot about anime influences. Is there an anime that like you just like what basically what's y'all's favorite anime? That's the bottom line question here.
Oh.
I was gonna word it fancy. There's no way. That's not what this is for.
And that's a mean question. That's like
I'm
asking, right,
sorry.
what's your favorite
I
movie?
can I can answer mine. I mean, I grew up early a child of the early 90s,
Mm-hmm.
so I fell in love with anime like at 5 when I first found Dragon Ball Z.
Mm,
And so I've got to go with Dragon Ball Z, even
yeah.
if, at times there may be an anime that I would prefer to watch just
Mm,
because it's newer or it's something different
mm,
or it's maybe a little bit darker or something like that.
mm,
Uh, Dragon Ball Z is always going to live on as like my absolute favorite anime.
mm,
Yeah.
mm,
And I think I'm gonna have to go because of its, for me, endless rewatchability. I'm
mm,
always down to rewatch with Demon Slayer.
mm,
There's something about Tanjiro and the world and the characters and the pacing and the flow of the action.
mm.
But that's one that whenever we're down, like looking to rewatch and restart an anime, it always has my first vote.
That's the one I've been told the most to get into. And for some reason I've watched like majority of this show, but Attack on Titan, I was getting a bit of those vibes when I was watching this as well, which always a complimentary. That's complimentary. Just want to let
Oh,
that be known.
this was heavily inspired by Attack
Yeah,
on Titan because it was like in the middle of I don't know how many seasons they had out, but
maybe two.
I was
Maybe two.
really into Attack on Titan when I wrote this, like
Hmm.
big time.
Yeah.
And it was like my new hot anime. That and Berserk I was getting into
Mm,
for the first time, which to be fair, the animation is not I've not seen the original one,
mm,
but I watched the remakes, like the
mm,
3 movie arc one,
mm.
and it's like that computer animation just kills me. I hate it so much.
Is it like a poorly rendition of like 2D animation or what is it that sets it so
Uh,
negative?
it's that kind of early computer animation that's trying to make it look
Gotcha.
hand drawn
Gotcha.
type thing,
Okay.
and it just doesn't work. It falls into that uncanny valley where it's not even close enough to like be in the uncanny valley. So
Mm,
it's just awful. But the story, and it's a shame because I've the story of Berserk. I mean, that's one of the best mangas and
mm,
most beautifully drawn mangas that's ever been created. I mean, the pages are so detailed, the world is so broad, and it's absolutely beautiful. And Miura is like an absolute, well, he's passed away now, but
mm,
he was an absolute genius
mm.
and an incredible artist. Yeah.
Is that
I'd definitely recommend.
the ones behind you I can see right there?
Yeah, there are a couple of the volumes
Yeah.
behind me with the black binding.
Mm,
Yeah, and those are like the compilation sets,
mm.
which are great bang for your buck, and they're actually really beautifully packaged.
Nice.
Uh, I think you get them on Amazon. Like, wait for them to come on sale periodically. I
Gotcha.
think they cost like $50 regularly, but I
Mm.
think I've gotten all my copies for like $20 or $25.
That's a
Or I
steal.
think you can also buy them used for like
Mm.
15.
All right.
So,
Yeah, I've been
yeah.
definitely getting like trying to get back into comic book reading, so manga is definitely something I'm absolutely exploring. So I'll definitely look into Berserk. And to kind of switch gears about the filmmaking process, practical effects in this movie is phenomenal. I always applaud every use of practical effects. I think they're phenomenal, especially the zombie makeup and the couch. I mean, just even the gore, just the amount of like, just wear and tear that poor room went through. What was your guys' approach to practical effects in this? Because it seems that you guys were very heavy into it, but was this like not like necessarily a budgetary decision, but more like a cinematic decision where it's like these characters can feel like they're in this moment by living in it? A shortened, not so scary, less dangerous version of it.
Yeah, so the practical effects, I mean, I have to tip my hat to Joseph Drabresco.
Hmm.
He was our makeup artist, he's incredibly talented. I had met him on a film in New York like a
Hmm.
couple months prior to shooting. And I was kind of going to try to go do the practical effects myself. I didn't know really how we're going to handle that. And as soon as I saw his book of like all the stuff that he had done, I'm like, dude, would you be interested in sleeping on my couch, coming out to LA and making a zombie movie? And he was, totally on board from the get-go. He's super an amazing guy, an amazing artist. So he brought like a top tier Hollywood level special effects knowledge to the production. In terms of like the zombies not being like super decayed and stuff like that and kind of having a more natural look, that was very intentional. I was kind of drawing like how I wanted the zombies to evolve through the course of the film. So
Yeah.
it may not be like super obvious. It's supposed to be kind of, again,
Yeah.
brushing the entire film with details, but not making those details so obvious that like you're like, oh, I see exactly what's happening. Again, trying to stick with that realism of the time frame. But the idea is, as opposed to corpses rising from the dead, we're turning living people into zombies. And this is their first, 12, 16 hours of them being a zombie. So they haven't had time to fully decay or decompose or anything like that. And the kind of boils that they have was kind of the essence of like their evil kind of bursting out of them.
Yes.
And then through the course of the film, those start to like kind of burst and the corruption starts to take over and kind of eat away at them. And that was like, I wanted that to happen. I didn't know how that would happen. And Joe brought, he actually cast individual molds. So,
Wow.
and then like would cast latex appliances from his molds and then obviously apply them to each of the actors. But those were completely unique to the film, created by him for the film.
Wow. We gotta go him. That's really, it's very impressive because I did think having it be the people that were just living their everyday lives that just became a zombie. And I've always hated the Walking Dead's approach where it's like the person just get freshly bit and they're this decayed, decrepit thing like the Crypt Keeper. So I think Gel's approach was perfect because it does feel like the everyday life flipped on its head. And I did see the subtlety I really did enjoy because it didn't feel like it was moving its attention away from these heroes to the villains because we know who the villains are. It's the entire world. So everything else is kind of like shadowed away and our attention's on these characters, which I thought was really, really cool.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And I'm going to throw a nod to you as well because you kind of touched on it. But Kyle's approach to filmmaking is he wrote it, he saw it in his head, he wrote it around as well the resources and the kind of locations and with the kind of personality he thought we'd be able to get. But without knowing before shooting like exactly how it would be done, he'd be like, don't worry, like I'll figure it out before we shoot. Like I know we can make this work. I know we can get this done. And that's kind of like the hands-on approach that he took with every aspect of this movie.
Was that something that was intentional? Like you kind of wanted just to like put on the director's cap and be like, look, the answer will be solved the day of, or was it in the sense of like the Goonies where you wanted to let all the zombies be seen by the actors for the very first time in the scenes that they were happening?
No, I mean, it wasn't.
Necessity.
Yeah, it was kind of necessity. I mean, the zombies were actually getting made up in the bathroom.
Oh,
We had a half bath upstairs in that apartment, and we retrofitted that to become like Joe's workshop. So I think that like, we're, in a big Hollywood picture, you'd have like a fancy room with all this lighting and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I think our actors were sitting on like the toilet, like, obviously the lid's closed. And Joe's applying their makeup, because that was the only space that wasn't being used with, filled up with obviously film equipment or people's belongings. Because we actually had Joe, as I mentioned previously, and our boom pole operator, Chad Tolson. They both lived with us for the entire duration of the shoot, I think, or for nearly the entire duration of the shoot. We went over a little bit. We did some, extra shots after our 28-day period.
Yeah, in this 2-bedroom apartment, you had those two sleeping there. You had Kyle and I. You had 2 dogs. You had live sets almost throughout the entire house. And then you had a couple corners of like almost every room that were stuffed with production equipment and computers that were digesting footage or having call sheets on my end being sent out and communicating with actors and SAG. I mean, it was just, it was absolutely bonkers.
Sure.
Like, you think the apartment looked crazy on film? You should have seen the behind the scenes.
God, I would have loved to see the behind the scenes of that because the space that you guys use in that apartment is very well done. Like it doesn't feel so compact. It does feel very freeing the way that the cameras are set up, which I really do. I think is complimentary on that because I did admire the camera work, the camera setup, and everything about this place felt very familiar. Like that apartment, I've been to those apartments. I've hung around in those apartments. It felt very, very homey. And especially in the nerd community. And I think that was I think that was the touch that really sets it apart. It's cosplayers first. And I really applaud you guys for that. It's really, really fun. It's something you don't see often. So I think putting cosplay in the light of this is just great.
Thank you so much for the way that you said that too. Cosplay first. That's a really good way to describe the approach to this film and how it turned out. And we're really just blown away. A lot of the reviewers have been saying that they felt so much nostalgia while watching this movie. And some of them
Yeah.
said why and this and that, but I think what you touched on is true. It's whether it's the couch, it's the apartment, it's the camaraderie, it's the talk of anime, the watching it while eating pizza. There's sort of a nostalgia, no matter what you're a fan of going in, for sitting with your friends and relaxing and having like, well, not a zombie apocalypse, but nerdy and fun conversations about things you love, you know, and fights and everything in between.
Yeah, I think it was like something that it was like a quick throwaway line. They're watching the show and somebody's asking a question of Punky's like, because you're not watching it, like you're not getting it. I've had to say that so many times when watching like movies with friends, like with the first 30 seconds, they're like, who's that guy? I'm like, even I don't know because we're watching it.
Right.
Let's just experience it together.
It's when Rocket is the apocalypse wish was just made in the other room and he is maybe turning into a zombie, so he sort of goes, oh, and he's like, did you guys feel that? And JJ turns to him, Punky turns to him, it's like, it just started, man. It just started. Like, what are you doing?
Yes.
Exactly.
I loved it. And I remember hearing in another podcast briefly, you guys have an idea of what sounds like to be a franchise.
Yeah, so we've got volumes 2 through 5 already written.
Hell yeah.
And then I've got the story beated out to like volume 10, where it kind of, that's like basically your finding the One Piece. It doesn't like end this world, but it caps, you know, our story with these characters for that like basically book or a series of books. And then there's another, you know, there's basically a way to infinitely kind of keep the world going.
Heck yeah.
To tell different stories and, you know, the crazier ideas. Like if we ever get to a 10, like past that would be kind of telling this story from other parts of the world through other people's kind of eyes and experience. And, you know, our character is still being involved, but being much more, you know, in the background.
Because it ends on that cliffhanger of like this call to action. So I'm very curious to see 2 through 5 and 2 through 10 everywhere else. Very excited to see these spinoffs. But more importantly, are we going to get the Valle cut? The unedited Zack Snyder's 6-part 12-hour chapter? I'm curious. Has that been like a thought to just release this thing completely as is?
I mean, we did include on the DVD a lot of the deleted, like the extended scenes and some of the deleted scenes. And I would think that at some point, if there is I would like to do that at some point. So
well, the real question would be, would it be like the final, what you would have had as the long extended cut if you got in your way and hadn't had to cut anything that you wanted?
Yeah.
Or for fun, would it be like a, you know, the 2021 cut of
there are
progress?
Yeah,
there's so many different years of
Oh my
cuts
gosh.
for this film and versions of it leveling up. I mean, it looked very different.
You know what? I'll go one step further. Yes, I would like to release a compilation Blu-ray or, you know, Blu-ray with the LA Comic-Con cut. So the cut that we showed at LA Comic-Con in 2016. 18. The cut that we showed at Anime Expo in 2019. The cut that was intended to be shown at LA Comic-Con, I think 2023. And then the final cut before I had to start chopping it down that was finally released. You have like 4 or 5 cuts of the movie.
You know what?
Like the multiverse.
I was going to say, kind
Valley cut.
Perfect. That's a perfect way to put it. Or like the way that Clue was distributed with like the different endings. So I think the different versions of this would be really fun to see. That's super cool.
God bless anyone who would actually watch all of them other than me.
And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Yeah.
You got a fan base. Yeah, I mean, each new thing is another edition on Letterboxd. So you can get a whole ZombieCon list and rank. I love the 2019 over the 2016 cut. Like, there's a whole list you guys can make with that.
Maybe it'll be like a ZombieCon Volume 0.25.
There you go.
ZombieCon Volume 0.5,
yes.
etc.
Like Lion King 1.5.
Yeah.
Now, the real question is, do we release it with, like, for the LA Comic-Con 2018, should we release it with the audio as it was back then?
Yes, so that people can see. If you're into indie filmmaking or you want to make your own films, it's good to see because it's good it's a good lesson in never giving up. because my
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
my God, was the audio atrocious. And it took a long time for Kyle to learn and acquire the equipment and programs and do many different versions of it to get it cleaned up to where it is.
Yeah.
That's and honestly good on y'all for keeping this up. This movie and this project is great. I'm really glad to hear you guys didn't lose faith in this, because this movie really does mean a new breath of fresh air into this franchise, into this world, into this genre, which I do applaud you guys for that. And kind of just the last question I want to leave you guys with is, if there was someone going into this world of filmmaking, indie filmmaking, whatever the case, what would be the bit of advice you want to leave with them as either writer, director, actor, producer, anything, altogether, individually,
I forget the exact quote, but this is something that I've been liking recently, and I think it's true. And it's like, a decent plan executed violently and with passion is better than the perfect plan that you wait until all the elements are right to actually, execute. Because I think that's true. That you're never gonna have all the money you want. You're never gonna have all the locations you want, the actors that you want. Stuff's gonna drop out. We lost locations the day, 2 days before shooting. A location dropped us. We had an actor quit the day before they were supposed to come on, had to replace them. I mean, things go wrong nonstop. It's never going to be perfect, but you just got to make sure that you keep on with enough enthusiasm and quick decision making as you possibly can.
Yeah,
Nice.
and to bookend that, I would, I agree with a lot of what Erin said. I would say definitely, first off, paper is free, writing is free. Like, so take as much time as you need to make sure that the story is great. But again, like Erin said, don't wait for the perfect story, because when you're writing something, you're always going to try to find a way to be like, it's perfect, it's not perfect, and there's a little bit of that trusting yourself, kind of take the leap of faith that every artist has to do whenever they're going to tackle something, especially that's financially or this time kind of
Consuming.
consuming. So take that leap of faith, but do it educatedly, uh, while simultaneously being flexible enough throughout the entire process to be open uh, to mistakes going wrong and not getting frustrated by them. Always try to find that creative solution. And if you had to use an example, just think back to Jaws, right? The shark didn't work, and that's what made the movie one of the best movies that's ever been made. And so sometimes what you're viewing, because you've already got the movie in your head or you've already got storyboarded out, and now your vision is ruined, that doesn't always mean that's not always a bad thing. That could turn out to be your creative solution to that problem, could be the thing that makes your film or your project or your piece of art stand the test of time and transcend anything that you could have done without that being an issue, just by being creatively positive and pushing through and finding a solution.
Very well said. I think the example of Jaws, and especially just kind of like the no perfect moment thing, really blends well together. So honestly, thank you guys so much for your time. You guys can check out ZombieCon Vol.1 on Prime, Apple TV, I believe, as well. Pretty much streaming platforms altogether. You have, like we said, a physical media copy, which we all are a big favor of here. Physical media till we die. And you also just released a behind the scenes booklet.
Yeah, we just released it. It's on Amazon. There's a link on the website, ZombieCON Vol.1.com. But yeah, it's got a ton of behind the scenes pictures and kind of goes into some of the details on how it was shot. Like,
Love
I think
that.
that one of my favorite pictures, which, I guess you could imagine it, but you should see it in the book for all its glory, is one of the few shots of this U-Haul that we rented for the entire duration of the shoot. And that was like our equipment van, because we couldn't afford like a grip truck for the whole shoot or anything. So we just put all of our equipment in a U-Haul, and I was driving that thing around to all the different locations the entire time.
Yeah. Side note, if you rewatch ZombieCon a lot, you will see a random U-Haul like skulking in the background suspiciously of a lot of shots.
So we have another.
That's our
We have,
U-Haul.
we have our Christine in this universe. This
Yes.
haunted U-Haul. Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, that's going to be the description. So if you guys want to check it out, go get your copy today. Erin and Kyle, thank you guys so much for your flexibility, for your availability, and for your creation. ZombieCon Vol.1. Thank you guys so much for being here. We really do appreciate that.
Thank you for having us. It's been an absolute joy.
Of course.
Please, if you're ever looking for more guests in the future, we would
Heck
love
yeah.
to come back and chat movies with you anytime.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank
This
you
was
guys.
awesome.
Yeah. Thank you guys again for your time, and we will see you guys next time.